Dream.
This is Rachel.
All right, and we have a special guest this week.
Dante, what's up?
All right, and this is the Say Something Nice podcast. You're going to be hearing this on December the 2nd, but we're actually recording this like a week and a half early because we don't want to work on Thanksgiving weekend, basically. But we did want to make sure you guys had a show, and actually, so this show we aren't doing any any news coverage today. So whatever crazy thing happens between during Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving break weekend in entertainment, we don't know about it yet. We don't have crystal balls. We're not Miss Cleo, so you know.
I am.
Calm it
Already
down.
now.
But we can do instead is I guess like a little show since the Wiz Live will be coming on the day after the show goes up. We're gonna do like I guess a little bit of a delve into the history of film adaptations of The Wizard of Oz and The Wiz, the stage version, the film version, and what we hope and pray will be on NBC's stage the day after the show goes up, because we need for them to do it good. All right, so this basically be like we're doing like just a long form topic altogether. Basically, is how this is going to work. So to get started, I guess the first question I have for you guys is how many of you guys have actually read at any point in your life, childhood or whatever, the original Frank Baum Wonderful Wizard of Oz?
I have.
Ooh,
I
I've
read
read
it.
it. Yeah, it was like at least 28 years ago.
I read it probably 35 years ago. I was very young, so I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to read like in college or grad school or something.
Oh, okay.
All right. Actually, when I was a kid, I have the children's illustrated version where they basically is like a slightly abridged rewrite of it where they had an illustration on every other page. But the original Frank Baum version I've been reading right now actually it comes free with a Kindle account. So like and then for 99 cents I just bought today the Anne Hathaway reads The Wonderful Wizard of Oz to go along with it by Whispers.
That should be interesting.
Yeah. And it's actually like it's an interesting book. Frank Baum was a guy who tried a bunch of different careers and he decided to be a writer because like he wasn't very good at business, but he had a lot of fun coming up with stories for his kids. And so he just committed one to paper one day, and that was The Wizard of Oz, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
It's a great story.
Yeah, printed in 1900 and became, a big sensation. He wrote, I think, 12 other Oz books, and his kids and other authors have written books after that. So, I mean, there's like at least 24 Oz books at this
I
point.
wonder if he wrote that today, what would have happened? Like, if that book came out today, would it have been such a literary success? Was that good compared to today's standards?
It's a good book, but I think if he wrote it today, Dorothy would be killing the witch by hand.
Yeah.
So
Really?
kind of,
Yeah,
Or it'd be some like Mortal Kombat type of, jujitsu type thing going.
And it'd be like a love triangle between Dorothy, the Scarecrow. and,
Y'all
like,
think so?
Yeah, because young adult fiction now is something different. You know what I mean?
well, young adult fiction is basically adult fiction, but just dumbed down just a little bit.
And you're gonna always have that little love triangle element to it, which
Yeah.
the girl has to pick between two guys who are somewhat different. So yeah.
Would
yeah.
it have been gay? Would it have been some gays, like a gay love interest type thing in there?
It already
It
is.
would have been
But
like
With
it would have
Dorothy
been like
discovered sexuality? Like would she have discovered her sexuality like on the way to see the Wiz?
well, I mean,
nah.
they already had a
Nah.
line.
I think the Tin Man would have been like her gay best friend.
You say we're rewriting this thing, we're being real whack about it. Y'all are being funny about it.
Yeah.
I always wonder that those books that were written that long ago, if they were written today, would they even be good?
Mm.
I will say though, the original Wizard of Oz book is very. The word I was about to grab for was weird, but weird's probably like a pejorative in this case. It's very like it's just very interesting how many directions it goes in. Like any version you've seen of that's been adapted, they cut it down a good bit because Dorothy spends a lot of time on that damn yellow brick road, going from house to house and land to land, and meeting all these strange creatures in Oz. You know, like creatures like the quadlings and like the little China people who you don't ever see in the movies, except for like one, who we'll talk about later. You know, the whole journey to get Dorothy from Oz to Glinda the Good Witch at the very end of the story is another journey that they never adapt. Glinda just shows the hell up in any version of the movie. She just comes in right then and there. Like there's a whole third of the story that they have never ever adapt of the Wizard of Oz.
Well, you know, like Frank Baum, there's like always been like this contention that it wasn't just a kid's book; it was like a allegory,
right?
Like, or a satire on like like populist politics at the turn of the century and like the new gold standard and moving from agrarian society to industrial society. Yeah, it's always been like this debate that it wasn't ever really just a kid's book. You know, more like it's trying to be more like Gulliver's Travels.
Yes,
in that regard.
Also, there's a deal of feminism at the core of it, because you think about Oz, the four witches have all the power in Oz. The one male in Oz is an imposter. Yep. You know, everybody's afraid of him, but they don't know that he has no power. He's just a shuckster who, you know, can put on a good show.
That's just so real life right there. Because y'all generally do suck. Y'all are pretending. Y'all are jealous of a woman's power, and we don't even know how much power we have as women. Y'all are false. False.
I'll take it. I'm not going to debate.
Wait, so Frank Baum was like a secret feminist?
It was even a secret about it. They asked him about it, and he said straight up that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I think too.
Stay woke.
We look at everything through the lens of like our modern world, right? But think about like when Frank Baum wrote that, man, that's like not too long after the Civil War, not too long after Reconstruction. The suffragette movement was really on and popping. So we look at it now through the lens of having seen the movies in which they've been normalized. So we have a narrative of the story that ain't really the story at all. So, you know, you always got to look at when something like that was written to get a feel of what they were writing about. You know?
Okay. All right, cool. So just really quickly, so I can get like the right after he wrote the original book in 1902, he actually wrote the script for the very first live production of it, which was a musical, but they've lost the songs, so they don't really know what kind of songs were in the actual show. Like they have an idea of what they were, but they don't. There's no like record of what the actual words and everything were. And of course, you know, this being the early 1900s, you know, you have, you know, very early film adaptations of The Wizard of Oz that were done. There was one in 1925, these are all silent, of course, that actually starred Oliver Hardy as one of the, I think he was the Tin Man, not the Lion. The Lion would have actually been better for him, but that one actually, Warner Brothers puts it on the DVD whenever they put out The Wizard of Oz, the infamous, the more famous version. And there was a Canadian cartoon version done by, I think his name is Ted Eschbach in 1933. That was one of the earliest Technicolor cartoons that was ever done. But in general, the more popular adaptation history of The Wizard of Oz begins with a man named Walter Elias Disney. After he made Snow White, and Snow White became a gigantic hit in 1938, started fishing for other properties to make. And his first choice was The Wizard of Oz. So he went to acquire about the rights, but come to find out the Samuel Goldwyn Company had acquired the rights already. And they sold it to MGM. And MGM, of course, after seeing Snow White make all this money, were trying to figure out how they could make a Snow White of their own. Instead of making the animated film, which is what other studios tried to do, like Max Fleischer, they decided to make a live-action fantasy film of The Wizard of Oz. Arthur Freed was the guy who was in charge of the production. He was the associate producer who put the bug in Louis B. Mayer's ear to make it in the first place. And so they decided, well, who do we want to cast as Dorothy, the star? Now, MGM at the time was owned by a theater chain called Loews Incorporated, which Loews still exists. There are still Loews theaters everywhere. They just don't own MGM anymore, which is another story for another podcast. But Lowe's wanted them to cast Shirley Temple as Dorothy because Shirley Temple in 1938 was the biggest female box office star worldwide. But Arthur Freed instead has his eyes set on a 15-year-old girl named Judy Garland, who had just been in a movie that MGM made called The Broadway Melody of 1938. Judy Garland, they say the word they use for her in all these documentaries I watch is that she was not conventionally attractive. Like apparently, like she she had a tendency to overweigh, and so they put her on this strict diet of like soup.
I remember reading that. They jacked her up.
Yeah, the MGM commissary people were ordered to only ever feed her soup. So whenever she did like Christmas plays and stuff for MGM, she would steal candy canes from the kids and eat them because she was starving.
Didn't they also give her like uppers and things like that?
Yeah, that would come a little bit later when she was a little bit older, but yeah, that definitely happened, like in the early 40s. But so they cast Judy Garland to be Dorothy, and then they cast Buddy Ebsen as the Scarecrow, Ray Bolger, who's the dancer and actor, as the Tin Man, and Burt Lahr as the Lion. Ray Bolger was a vaudevillian who idolized the guy who played the Scarecrow in the vaudeville shows he had seen, and so him and his wife went to MGM and said, "We don't want him to play the Tin Man. We want him to play the Scarecrow. Can him and Buddy Ebsen switch?" And so Ebsen didn't have a problem with that, so they switched.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, but there's one more issue. They got into casting and into costuming and everything, and they started doing some preliminary production work. The Wizard of Oz, of course, was one of I think the 8th film shot in Technicolor ever. I had my list open right here. People think it's the first one because it was one of the first color films to be a big hit, but it was not even the first one. The films before it that were besides Snow White that were shot in color are Becky Sharp, The Garden of Allah, The Trail of the Lonesome Pine, Ramona, Nothing Sacred, A Star Is Born, I Shall Be in Motion Pictures One Day, Wings of the Morning, The Adventures of Robin Hood, which was probably the first big hit in color. That was a really big hit of a film. The Divorce of Lady X, The Goldwyn Follies, The Little Princess, which stars Shirley Temple, and it's not on this list, but The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, which we saw in school, which was also a big hit. And so they had to go through the issue of trying to figure out how to make these costumes and things work in color. And one thing, of course, they changed was Dorothy's shoes. In the book, she wears silver slippers, that she gets from the Wicked Witch of the East when she kills her with her house. When they made the movie, they decided to make them ruby to show off color. Buddy Ebsen, as the Tin Man, was given this aluminum paste to wear as his costume. I mean, as his part of his costume. Well, not paste. It was a powder. I'm sorry. That's important because the powder was loose and got in his lungs as he worked, and at some point during early production, he actually suffocated and had to be rushed to the hospital and put into one of those old-fashioned aluminum
Iron
lungs things,
Iron
lungs.
Yeah.
Gracious.
And so he ended up losing the part because
shout out to OSHA standards.
Yeah. And they ended up casting an actor named Jack Haley in his part instead, and he's the guy who you see in the film. They actually, if you listen close enough, whenever they do We're Off to See the Wizard, Buddy Ebsen's voice is still in there because they couldn't re-record the group vocals. But Buddy Ebsen, even though he didn't make The Wizard of Oz, he went on like 30 years later to play Jed Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies.
Texas tea, dog. Texas tea.
Texas tea. Black gold. And so The Wizard of Oz, went through a very troubled production besides trying to kill his actors. Another actor who suffered a little bit was Margaret Hamilton. She played the Wicked Witch of the West and was their second choice. They at first wanted to cast a lady named what was her name? I wrote it down. Give me 1 second. Let me find my notes. Her name is. Shoot, I wrote it down. It's give me a second. I have to edit this one. I apologize to anybody listening.
I'm surprised they didn't.
I know. It's not. It's not a
somewhere in the movie.
Oh no, it's not. It's not a mammy anywhere in the movie.
I'm surprised there wasn't one big old man just floating down out of the trees doing a watermelon dance.
Yeah, and then float back off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and a gingham skirt just billowing
out of nowhere, come in and singing Dixie and Oz, right?
He's used to looking for the wizard stuff.
Right.
I'm shocked that they didn't have that in there.
Yeah. Her name was Gail Sondergaard, who was originally cast as the Wicked Witch of the West, because MGM, looking at Snow White, wanted to cast a lady who had that beautiful cold look as the Wicked Witch, similar to the Queen of Snow White. You know how she's evil, but she has this beautiful, like, regal look about her.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, they decided that wasn't going to work, so they got Margaret Hamilton, who, of course, unfortunately had the nose for the part. So,
you know what's interesting to me,
she
man?
Was great.
When you hear about,
she was great.
Yeah, she was fantastic in it.
Mm-hmm.
You hear about like the casting decisions and all these little behind the scenes decisions of old Hollywood, right?
Right.
And how certain tropes and stereotypes that we kind of associate automatically with certain looks or certain types of people are just because of some motherfucker making a decision back in 1920. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with anything in reality. It's just some dude somewhere like, you know what? I think dark-haired women who like have very still faces look evil because they didn't get it when I was young. So from that point on, every dark-haired woman with a still face looks cold.
Right.
That's what we've been taught to think.
Right. And so they cast Margaret Hamilton as the witch, and her makeup was the green makeup, infamous green makeup, was made of copper. When they were shooting, of course,
Sorry. What? Go ahead. No, what's up with the metallic makeup? But go ahead.
That's they had back then.
Yeah. But this is before they had like artificial makeup that was a lot safer to use with these productions. This famous scene in The Wizard of Oz where she appears in Munchkinland and then she disappears in that big ball of fire. Mm-hmm. They achieved this by having a trapdoor under her, and it was like a 3-step process. Trapdoor opens, smoke comes up. After she's down the elevator that's underneath her, flame goes up. Yeah. The shot that's actually in the film, somebody hit the flame button too fast, and her copper makeup caught on fire.
Yep.
And she was out for 6 weeks with like 30-degree burns.
Man, oh man.
Damn.
So these folks suffered for that movie.
Shout out to OSHA.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't like OSHA.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a lot of issues with the the little people too.
Yeah, the Munchkins. They cast. They got a guy named Leo Singer, who was the guy who hired the little people who played the Munchkins, and allegedly, because there's like a widespread reports that vary a lot about how rambunctious they were. Mm-hmm. Like getting into trouble on the set and everything.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stories, like about, because I mean, it was 100 of them, and everything, like, and a lot of them were like teenagers, 16, 17, 18, so they're gonna do what teenagers do.
So they were having Munchkin orgies.
Yeah,
they were having a good time. Can you imagine, like, not seeing anybody like you your whole life,
right?
And then you walk into a place, you're getting paid to just party with hundreds of people that share your experience.
Yeah,
they were doing all sorts of stuff.
Back in the day before TV, so
yeah,
they getting it in, and probably in like roughly half the space that we would take, but they get
right.
I don't blame them. Get yours.
Just imagine walking in on that though. It's like you just like open the door, like, oh shit, it's the Munchkins fucking. Oh my bad.
Once that happens to you once, you tend not to forget it.
Yeah. One of the key Munchkins named his stage name is Jerry Marin. He's the one who plays the middle kid of the Lollipop Guild, the one who went with the lollipop. Yeah. He talks about how that's the first time he ever saw any other little people ever. And he actually, he went into commercials for TV later, played Buster Brown in the Buster Brown commercials. And the same year he was in The Wizard of Oz, he was in an Arrow gang comedy called Tiny Troubles, playing a gangster who posed as a baby and pretended to be Alfalfa's little brother.
Things never change.
Yeah, and Porky and Buckwheat were the only two who knew he was not a baby. But who's gonna listen to them? So
It's crazy.
And so even behind the scenes, The Wizard of Oz went through 4 different directors. The first director was a man named Richard Thorpe, who in his version it was a lot more of a quote unquote glamorous MGM musical vehicle. You know, Judy Garland's wig and everything was like more like, you know, very much more, you know, in the fashion of like glamour girl type of look. Mm-hmm. They didn't like Richard Thorpe's scenes that he was shooting, so when Buddy Epson went to the hospital and had to be replaced by Jack Haley, they fired Richard Thorpe and replaced him with George Cukor, who he never shot any actual footage, but he actually did revise the costumes to what they finally appeared in as in the final film, before he was taken off and assigned to direct Gone with the Wind instead. And so the third director who came in was Victor Fleming, and he's the one who directed the vast majority of the footage that ended up in the actual film. So everything, most of the color part, The Wizard of Oz, was his work. You know, coming in, you know, since this was like, you know, a very early Technicolor film, the set was 110 degrees because they needed all that light, because color film back then ran very slow as far as like the ISO speed and everything. And so you have Burt Lahr playing the lion in these real furs, you know, sweating his ass off every day, you know, having to look, you know, merry and skip along the Epic Road and everything. There's a lot, of course, since it's a fantasy film, a lot of like special effects that they had to innovate for color. Things they've been doing in black and white for years, but you know, now that they're doing it in color, they had to rethink it, because Technicolor film, to nerd out for a second, works because you have...
For a second?
Yeah.
Just a second.
Yeah, just a second. It works by having a prism that splits whatever you see in your viewfinder into 3 separate signals, a red, a green, and a blue. And that gets recorded to the negative film, and so that when you print it, it prints like, you know, like books print, you know, cyan, magenta, and yellow. And so they use that, and they glued the film strips together, and that's your Technicolor film print. Well, actually, they don't glue it together. They print it one at a time onto the film using like a special dye. So that's why Technicolor films, they hold up very well. The prints do. Like, they still look the way they did back then, because like there's like the ink they used was very good ink. They don't do it like that anymore, unfortunately. Well, they don't make film anymore, period. But Technicolor,
everything's digital. Yeah,
Technicolor plant shut down in the 70s. I think Star Wars was the last movie to be actually made, printed on a Technicolor plant that was in America. And so Victor Fleming made most of the movie, and of course had to be shuttled off because George Cukor and Clark Gable were at blows on the Gone with the Wind set. And so Victor Fleming replaced George Cukor. That's why his name is the director on both of those films. He's the only credited director on both Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz. And a man named King Vidor directed the last few days of the color part, and he directed all of the black and white part. Which I've heard a lot of people say the black and white part is there because they invented color while the movie was being made. As I already covered earlier, there were other color films long before The Wizard of Oz was ever made. They chose black and white on purpose, A, to keep the cost down, and B, because if you read the book, it describes Kansas as basically being in black and white. You know, everything is gray and muddy, and there's no life in anything. So they use black and white to represent that, basically. And it saves some money.
That part of the film.
Yeah.
I enjoy that black and white part of the film. You know, just knowing what's going to come, looking at it again, knowing what's going to come. But I enjoy that part of the movie.
Yeah, and of course, you know, like the Wizard of Oz set the standard for like movie musicals as far as like how the songs were used. You know, when Disney made Snow White, he made a big point of trying to make sure that his songs tied into the actual script of the film. A lot of musicals in the 30s, you know, it's sort of kind of like, I'm making breakfast. Let's just sing a song about breakfast. You know, that doesn't really advance the plot. You know, when they made Snow White, every song was about what's going on in the movie and advancing the plot along. So The Wizard of Oz follows that. You know, you have We're Off to See the Wizard. You have, you know, trying to think of other songs. You know, all the songs they sing in Munchkinland. The song they sing when they get to the Oz, all these things were like on the outline of the film and were, you know, key tent poles. And of course, every musical you've seen after this follows that template basically. Every major musical. There are some still that it's just a song for a song's sake. Purple Rain, but
I mean,
are we going to talk about Purple Rain? Because
is Purple Rain really a musical though?
That's actually a good debate for another show. That's a really good debate.
It's a fusion thing. It's like a fusion of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Purple Rain is really just one long music video.
Right.
I can see
with
that.
some plot points.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a dramatical. It's a music drama. It's a lot of things.
Right. It's a drama with musical performances in it.
Yeah.
It's a Prince movie. It's a Prince movie.
It is.
To tell you.
There you go. Yes.
What was Under the Cherry Moon? What was that?
A fever dream.
What was that?
I mean,
how do you describe that?
So I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what he was trying to do. He was trying to do like one of those like 40s, 50s, like post World War II, like romantic French drama type things. I get what he was trying to do. It's just that the best thing about that movie was the soundtrack and Jerome and Morris Day's kinda not gay, maybe relationship.
It's a very odd little film. I need to watch that.
Yeah. Right.
The best thing about that movie to me is Rekisto. That's about it.
Rekisto.
I don't even want to talk about the lead lady. Why was she even involved?
What was her name? There we go. Kristen
Thomas.
Yeah.
I didn't like her. I didn't like that he picked her. I wasn't surprised, but I didn't like that he picked her. I didn't like her. I have y'all know me. I got a big problem with how we are represented in movies. Or not represented in movies.
Same here.
I would rather have seen a big fat black mammy than to see her. Okay, I'm sorry.
Under the Cherry Moon, starring Jennifer Holliday.
Why not? Why not? Tell me why not.
Wait, why is Jennifer Holliday the big fat black mammy?
Because she was a big fat black woman. That's sad.
Why not Nell Carter though?
Well, she could be. Nell Carter made her career out of that, her TV career, but she didn't start that way.
Yeah, I feel like if you were actually casting a mammy, you go for Jennifer Holliday before Nell Carter. Nell Carter was, she may have played a maid on Give Me a Break, but she was a sophisticated ass maid.
She wasn't mammy-ish.
Yeah, she wasn't mammy-ish. She found a way to transcend like the typical parts of that role and make it into a full-figured human being.
Florence Jefferson was more of a mammy. Florence, she was more mammy-ish than Nell was.
Washington,
yeah, whatever her last name was. Did they even give her a last name?
It was Washington, wasn't it?
Was it Washington? I just remember it's
Well, of course it was Washington. We name all our people out after slave owner presidents.
Yeah.
Okay, we really veered off there. I apologize.
It's fine.
I get into a tangent about black women and how they treat us, so I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. Especially it's relevant to this. Okay, Flores Constant. But it's relevant to this.
Yeah.
As far as especially as we get further along. But jumping all the way back to 1939, MGM put The Wizard of Oz out in August of '39.
Sorry.
They released it by attaching it with having Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland tour the country, and so they would show the film, and then Mickey and Judy would put on a show for like about a half hour afterwards. But despite all that, popular circumstance, the movie didn't make its money back when it was first released.
Yeah, it bombed, right?
It didn't bomb. The budget was $2.7 million. They thought it was going to make $8 million like Snow White. They only made $3 million. And of course, the movie studio doesn't get back the entire $3 million. That's the entire receipts. Half of that goes to the theater.
That's an incredible amount for back then.
Yeah, it was their most expensive movie to that point.
Yeah. And
so they re-released it in 1949 and made a little bit more money back, but it actually did not become a really big hit until it started airing on TV in 1956.
Okay.
And of course, it aired on TV every year after that, and that's how it became like a really big American tradition. Same way with Citizen Kane was the same way. Citizen Kane lost a lot of money when it came out. It was a big scandal. We'll need to do a whole show about that movie one day, but it became a big hit on television afterwards.
I still haven't seen that movie before.
I love
I've never
that
seen
movie
Citizen
so
Kane.
much.
I've never seen Citizen Kane before.
I mean,
Okay,
it's
hang up.
yeah, it's
You haven't seriously?
I haven't.
I think people think that it's some sort of like really like audacious sort of kind of sophisticated movie. It's actually it's a very well done movie about a very populist topic. Especially if you watch it this presidential campaign, it's very relevant because Donald Trump is nothing if he's not Charles Foster Kane.
yeah.
Well, Charles Foster Kane was a bit smarter.
Definitely smarter, yeah. But like the whole idea, like this, like the guy, the media mogul, trying to run for public office based on his public image and his popularity is definitely.
I think he's more like Ted Turner
or Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's an excellent movie. I recommend you watch it. It's beautifully shot. It's just wonderful.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. And so of course, with the Wizard of Oz becoming popular, MGM and later Ted Turner, who bought the rights to MGM's like archive library, has essentially pimped it out every year. Every 4 years, Turner and Warner Brothers, who of course now owns Turner, find a way to restore the Wizard of Oz in 4K, 8K, 16K, 32K, whatever format they can find to make you buy it again. And trots it back out. I'm sure that 80-year-old negative is going to fall apart one day because my goodness. They just keep, restoring it and restoring it again, restoring it. It's like, how much more detail can you find in this old ass film?
I think the best thing for him to do is just repackage it in its original shitty, decorated form and say this is the, authentic movie. Yeah.
The way you would have seen it back in 1939 after it came to your theater in your hometown after running around New York and LA and everything. It's all the splotches and the little pops at the end of each reel.
That would be great. I'd buy that. Put it in a little raggedy ass, packaging, tattered packaging,
It's not tattered.
Put it in a film reel box. Do that.
Yeah, why not?
Put in a croaker sack.
Yeah. Yeah.
A bunch of hipsters would buy that, so.
Oh, they totally would.
Yeah. In the meantime,
quality is great.
It's so authentic. Yeah, and so of course a lot of other studios tried to get in on the act after MGM did. Disney, since he couldn't buy the rights to the Wizard of Oz, he bought the rights to all the other Oz books in like a one fell swoop in the 1940s. Only problem was they could never figure out what to do with them. At one point in the 50s, they were going to make a movie called Rainbow Road to Oz that was going to star all the Mickey Mouse Club kids, Annette Funicello and all of them. They never made it. They actually made Babes in Toyland instead, which came out in 1961. And so the rights of the Oz books just sort of kind of sat at Disney. Nobody knew what to do with them. They end up making the movie Return to Oz in 1985. I don't know if y'all ever seen that before.
Yep.
Oh wow,
that movie is some strange ass shit.
Yep.
It's like a sequel. It's roughly based on the other Oz books, but very roughly. It's essentially when Dorothy comes back from Oz, she's telling Aunt Em about all her great times there, and Aunt Em's like, this little girl's nuts. We need to take her to the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist is putting her through shock therapy and puts her in the mental institution, and she escapes and finds her way back to Oz in like a raft or whatever. And so she goes to do another adventure in Oz with
that sounds pretty bad.
With like the jack-o'-lantern guy and like a talking chicken.
Nothing says family. Yeah, nothing says family fun like shock therapy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the jack-o'-lantern guy is fucking terrifying.
Anything with a jack-o'-lantern in it is usually bad.
He's like a scarecrow with a pumpkin head.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And it's like a long broomstick with a pumpkin head just sitting on top of it. And and it's like 85 animation or puppetry or whatever. It's creepy as fuck.
Yeah, it sounds like the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, a very dark and strange movie that really doesn't have much of a reputation anymore, except for us 80s kids who happened upon it at some point. There were a bunch of animated Oz movies that were sort of kind of like minor stuff done by independent companies. MGM, Turner at this point, licensed a Wizard of Oz TV show in like 1990, a cartoon show that was on ABC for one season. That was actually a creepy show too because people talk about being terrified by the Wicked Witch in the 1939 film. the cartoon version was even creepier because it was like she was even more powerful. They resurrected her from the dead.
Yeah.
And so like she was like, you know,
A
tormented.
zombie?
No, well, she didn't look a zombie. She was a zombie. She was a zombie, I guess, basically, but she still looked the same way she did in the movie.
Mm.
You know, and she was out. She was out at this point to kill Dorothy. So you know.
How have I never seen this cartoon?
What were you watching?
Parents loved you.
It's probably because it was on the same time as Ninja Turtles was in like the early
wow.
90s.
Yeah, no, so that was a wrap. I was all about Ninja Turtles, so yeah, that's why.
Yeah, like the few times we didn't change the channel, we saw the Wizard of Oz. So we only saw it a couple of times, but those few times were enough. That show was creepy to little kids. I'm trying to think of anything. Oh, and of course Disney ended up buying the rights to the other Oz books again in like, you know, I think the 90s and trying to put together another Oz film, which took them a decade. They finally put it out 2 years ago, and of course you guys know it is Oz the Great and Powerful, starring James
Franco.
That
and
is
Michelle Williams, I think.
Yeah, Michelle Williams and Mila Kunis.
Yes.
That is a terrible fucking movie.
Michelle Williams. Why?
Like, it's supposed to be the story of how Oz came to Oz back when he was just Oscar.
Yeah.
You do get to see the little China girl because in the book, Dorothy goes and meets a whole community of people made of fine china who they can't fall because they'll be worried about, you know, breaking themselves and cracking. And so the China girl, it's just like a little like 10-year-old girl. She plays a part in the film, and so that's good to see. And what's my man's name? I think his name is the black little guy who's in everything.
Dude from Friday.
Yes.
He was in that.
Yeah, he was in that. He had a big part. I'm gonna get his name
him.
right quick, but yeah, like if you're a fan of him, see that movie because Tony Cox. Yeah,
Tony Cox,
I like him.
Yeah, he was in there, but the story itself wasn't really that inviting. James Franco did not do a good job of playing the lead character of Oz. The movie
I
is
remember that now. I actually saw that.
Yeah, it's very, very long, and Mina Kunis as the Wicked Witch of the West. Oh,
I did see that, and I wasn't mad at it. They just shouldn't have did it.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that, and I was like, nah.
We actually saw it after work because, you know, it's a big, you know, CGI film, so we wouldn't go see it. But the CGI is terrible. That was one key problem I had with it.
It is. But yeah, I actually saw it on a date. Worst date ever.
Because you went to go see Oz the Great and Powerful.
Well, no, it was a bad day for other reasons, but that part of it.
But yeah, it was very strange movie. Like the green screen work was very obvious. Like it was really bad. Like I mean, like you guys are making $300 million movie here. Y'all could do better than this.
That movie cost $300 million?
It was up there. I just closed the window, but it was very expensive. Like,
I know it was definitely like at least 100 plus, right?
Yeah, it was definitely 215.
I can't believe it.
Plus whatever the marketing was.
That's crazy.
It looked way cheaper than that.
What was the first $100 million movie? It seems like that just happened like maybe 10, 15 years ago, right? What was the first movie that cost $100 million to make? Was it Titanic?
Wasn't Titanic. I almost want to say it was Roger Rabbit. Let me check.
I was going to say, wasn't it Jurassic Park? No, Jurassic Park had to be expensive.
No, Roger Rabbit was 58, so it wasn't Roger Rabbit. Might be Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park cost... What's it? They say media franchise. Dang it, I want to see just Jurassic Park, the movie. $63 million. I'm not sure where. Really? Twister? I don't know.
Please don't say it was Twister.
Let's see. Pirates of the Caribbean
Even
cost $378 million to make.
Yeah, it did. Pirates of the Caribbean was not cheap. Twister was $92 million. That's close.
Was it? Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Well, you know, I like Twister. I like the movie, and I love Bill Paxton. That's the one with Bill Paxton, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Holly Hunt or something like that.
Helen Hunt.
Yeah. I love that movie. I love Bill. He can do no wrong to me.
Yeah. Yeah, like Disney.
True Lies.
True Lies,
94.
Who's the star of that? That had to be like some star money.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's why.
Oh yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that money was like paying $20 million salaries. That wasn't like
James Cameron, man, he gets a check. He definitely gets stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Disney had plans to make other Oz films, but when the first one they made flopped like it did, those plans are on ice right now. So,
Right.
because they were going to try to ramp up to making a new Wizard of Oz, like Dorothy coming to Oz, 20 years after this film. But of course, they're not going to do that now. And also, they had problems from Warner Brothers, who was, watching the movie with a fine-tooth comb because they own the rights, of course, to the MGM film. And anything that's unique to that film, they can't do in another one without paying Warner Brothers. So they were down to what color the Wicked Witch's green face was. They were nitpicking every aspect of that production, saying like, "Oh, it can't be this shade of green, but it could be that shade of green."
Hey man, those old studios don't play around with they copyright everything.
Yeah. They do not play around at all. And so, of course, now, jumping back, we're going to talk about, one adaptation of the Wizard of Oz that we're here to talk about, which is The Wiz.
He's on down the road.
Yeah, it started out as an idea from a DJ named Ken Harper, who had this idea of doing the Wizard of Oz with black people in R&B music. And so he went looking around trying to figure out if he could find a financer, and he found one in 20th Century Fox. Mm-hmm. And so it was him, his friend Charlie Smalls, who wrote the music and the lyrics for most of the songs. They hired a playwright named William F. Brown, who was a white man. So everybody else involved is black unless otherwise noted. And William F. Brown wrote the script for the play. They hired Jeffrey Holder, who of course is now known as a famous Broadway director, to direct the play. Of course they found when the play finally went on, they had tryouts in Baltimore in '74, but when they first went on Broadway in I think January the 8th, 1975, at the it wasn't the Imperial Theater, that's Dreamgirls. Where did the Wiz first play? Give me 1 second. Doggone it. Come on, computer. I'm THEWIZ. Don't do this to me right now. They started at the Majestic Theater on January the 5th, 1975.
Majestic.
And of course, their cast in the lead of Dorothy was Stephanie Mills, then very much unknown. Henson Battle played the Scarecrow. Tiger Haynes played the Tin Man. Ted Ross played the Lion. Tasha Thomas as Aunt M. Dee Dee Bridgewater as Glinda the Good Witch. Andre the Shields as the Wiz. Mabel King, who was the mom on What's Happening, as Eveline. And Clarice Taylor, as Ada Pearl, the Good Witch of the North.
Props to Dee Dee Bridgewater, man.
Yeah.
Dee Dee Bridgewater, anything is good.
Yeah. The Wiz opened and closed on January the 5th, 1975, because they ran out of money. Right. So Fox put up extra money to get them to reopen the next day, and the show went on to become a big hit. Because what happened was that when they were even in their tryouts, they were getting good reviews, but they were not getting good ticket sales because they were not marketing to the right people. Because The Wiz was the kind of show that needed a different audience than a regular Broadway audience. It needed younger people. It needed blacker people, but it also needed younger white people who listen to R&B music as well.
Right.
And so once they got the marketing in place and they put out the cast album and put out Ease On Down the Road and the Tornado song as their singles, that's when they finally got, they became a gigantic hit on Broadway. They ran for 4 years, and they won 8 Tony Awards. Jeez. I think that's 8. Best Musical, Best Original Score, Best Featured Actor, Best Featured Actress, Best Direction, Best Choreography, Best Costume Design. I think that's 7. I'm sorry. Because they also won Drama Desk Awards for Best Musical, Best Featured Actor for Ted Ross, Best Choreography, Best Music and Lyrics, and Best Costume Design. So it was a really, really big hit. It's basically The Wonderful Wizard of Oz with black people. It's more faithful to the original book than the Judy Garland movie is. Right. Because you have, characters like the field mice. when they made the Judy Garland film, they combined the Good Witch of the North and the South into one Glinda, the Good Witch of the North. In The Wiz, you have two separate witches again, Ada Pearl and Glinda. And of course, well, I will go over the songs later because when we get to the part about the movie being different from the show they're gonna do on the 3rd. And so, what I will say for right now is that The Wiz became a big hit, and Motown, even though Fox had the film rights, Motown became interested in being the producer of the film. Berry Gordy actually signed Stephanie Mills to a recording contract at Motown, and there were plans being began to start developing The Wiz as a movie. And of course, a certain singer at Motown Records heard about this.
Hard Pocket.
A certain lady named Diane Ernestine Earl Ross. And she decided somewhere in her rabbit ass head that she should play Dorothy in The Wiz.
And how old was she? 34 years old at the time?
She was, at this time, this was 1977, she was 32.
Oh.
She looked every bit of 32.
She looked every inch of 32. So she caught up Berry Gordy, who of course she had dated for like 6 years in the 60s. They weren't dating anymore, but
he was still hitting it.
Right.
Well, not by this point. Not by this point. Like,
You don't know that.
Well, we went over the whole theme with Berry Gordy dating Chris Clark at the same time, and how Diana wasn't really here for that, and so that was like a big issue. Diana was married at this time to Silverstein. I forgot his first name, but Silverstein, Tracy's dad. Tracy and Charlie's dad. And so she went to Berry Gordy. She called him actually and said, "Berry, I want to play Dorothy in The Wiz." And he was like, "Woman, is you crazy?"
Right. You 419 years old.
Yeah, you too old. His exact words were, "You are too damn old to play some damn Dorothy."
And she was. Lord.
And she went in this whole thing about how she felt Dorothy was timeless and never gave her age in the book. They say child 100 times in the book. Let's be clear. And she's like, she's sort of kind of like, I forgot who she said, like Peter Pan or something like that. Like, she's ageless. And Barry's like, "No, you're not doing it." Yeah. Barry's like, "No, you're not doing it. I'm hanging up now. Goodbye. See you tomorrow." And so Diana was not the kind of person who said no for her answer, and so she went to a man named Rob Cohen, who was a producer, and she convinced him somehow. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Maybe that's who. Allegedly, possibly. I'm not saying that's what happened. That we're imagining that might be what happened, but we're not sure.
I'm telling you, man.
So you imagine that she showed up at his door with knee pads on.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, Lord. The views.
That's a shame, but that's probably that can go unsaid. There's nobody that's not thinking that, and that's a shame.
Right.
It's just the fact that the idea makes no sense at all. But this man who had made enough Hollywood films decided, I'm going to put together this package where we're going to shop around the film rights to The Wiz to other studios. Because they went to Fox first, because Fox had the rights for it. They paid for the show on Broadway. And Fox said, "Diana Ross as the star of The Wiz? No, here, listen. Take it. We don't care. Take it. Here are the rights. Goodbye. See you later." Yeah. And so they went to every other studio in Hollywood, but Universal was the one who said yes. And Universal said, because they were so enamored of the idea of Diana Ross, star. Right. MCA was their parent company. MCA Records, hit soundtrack, Diana Ross.
Never mind that she can't act or can barely sing.
Right.
Or dance.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that she was a big enough of a star was the idea. So they gave Berry Gordy a blank check to make The Wiz. And so he was like, he couldn't turn it down because they greenlit the film with no budget. You could spend whatever you need to make this movie.
Wow. That's amazing.
Listen, man. All I'm saying
his cut was incredible.
I want no parts of Diana Ross at all.
Right.
Even now at like 917 years old. Because clearly that thing is some new math that nobody's talking about.
I know he was laughing.
That nobody's ready to handle, man. Good Lord, a blank check for a black musical interpretation of the Wizard of Oz in 1970s, starring a 400-year-old woman as Dorothy.
Of course, it's gonna be bad.
Well, part of the reason why they got that blank check is because Diana promised them they could get Michael Jackson to play the Scarecrow. Michael Jackson wasn't quite Michael Jackson yet, but he was still the kid from the Jacksons.
Jackson 5, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he was popular to where that was a good idea. Their first director was going to be John Badham. He's the man who directed Saturday Night Fever.
Okay.
Really quickly, who did it? Which one of y'all they coming to get?
Oh no, that's me. They just drove by my apartment complex.
Diana Ross coming in.
Exactly.
On somebody.
Exactly. I hear you talking about it. Ain't no mountain high enough.
Yeah. John Badham. Yeah, John Badham learned that Diana was going to play Dorothy and said, "Peace." And so they hired Sidney Lumet to be the director of The Wiz. Now, Sidney Lumet is who had just made a great movie called Dog Day Afternoon, which is an incredible movie.
It's one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah, it's also not a musical.
It's not?
No. And so, just because he had made a great movie that was, this crime drama, does not mean that he was equipped to make a musical, which he later admitted he was not. And that he had a lot of trouble he made this film.
Especially with the cat. I mean, with
Diana Ross.
Too much.
But you know what?
Everybody else.
But when you think about that, Sidney Lumet as director, the way The Wiz looks makes perfect sense.
Right, because
you're right.
He's very much the gritty, urban, like dude made Pawnbroker, Dog Day Afternoon. Did he do? He did Network, right?
I think that's him. I'm pretty sure that's him.
12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men.
Now that you said that, I'm thinking about the movie, and it does look like that. Like, it looks like it's like crime scene.
It's a crime drama, yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why it was a crime drama set in New York was because
he did damn Serpico.
Yeah, was because they hired the #1 black screenwriter in Hollywood to write the script for it, who was Joel Schumacher. And Joel Schumacher set the Wiz film in New York.
Yeah. Right, what you know.
Yeah, Joel Schumacher, of course, is very much not black, but at the time he had just written Sparkle and Car Wash, and so he was considered the #1 black screenwriter in Hollywood.
No shit.
So essentially he was like Brett Ratner before Brett Ratner.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Get a bunch of black talent, put it in front of the camera, and say you wrote something, the talent succeeds, you fail forward. Yeah. That's a formula.
Of course, The Wiz on Broadway in the stage thing, it's still set in Kansas and in this fantasy world that's, like supposed to be far, far away. Joel Schumacher and Sidney Lumet decided that, I don't know, maybe they figured that black people couldn't relate to Kansas, that, they never seen a learning tree, didn't know black people lived in Kansas. So their Wiz is set in Harlem, where the Negroes be at. And Dorothy's, trip through Oz is a trip from Harlem to downtown Manhattan.
So essentially she caught the train.
Essentially.
Well, she tried, of course, in the movie, and the subway tried to eat them. So
still one of the that's another terrifying ass scene from my childhood, man.
That was the scariest part of that movie.
Yeah.
Man, the subway scene.
That's perfect.
Man, I used to watch that as a kid, like, oh shit.
Right.
Yeah, but you know what though? Think about it though. Like Schumacher and Lumet were both. I think Schumacher's from like New York, and I think Lumet's from like Philly or Boston or something like that. So maybe they hell with fantasy. They can't even relate to Kansas. All they know is concrete
urban
jungles.
Yeah, Sidney Lumet. He's from Philadelphia. And so of course they, Diana Ross is Dorothy, Michael Jackson's the Scarecrow. They hired Ben Vereen to play the Tin Man, but he had to drop out, so they got Nipsey Russell instead.
That would have been great.
Now Nipsey Russell is no one's dancer, and he's definitely nobody's singer.
Slide some more to me. Those backup singers were incredible doing that song.
Yeah, they had to do some work.
The entire Wiz, actually, the backup singers are
amazing. Wow.
They brought Ted Ross from the play to play his part on film as the Lion, as with Mabel King playing Eveline. They had Thelma Carpenter, who did a really good job to play the Witch of the North, who, instead of being Ada Pearl, they named her Miss One, and they made her a numbers runner, which is, I'm sorry, that's racist. I'm sorry. I didn't like it at all.
Oh, that's the part that's racist? Seriously?
Of all things.
Right. That's the part. Yeah.
That's the part where I was like, really?
I like that part. That's very
Wait, so that was part that was racist, but the graffiti kids as the Munchkins weren't racist at all?
Magpies and all that shit.
The poppy seed girls, y'all. The poppy seed.
The poppy seed
girls.
We have to blame Jeffrey
course,
Holder for that because the poppy seed girls are in the play. The lion trips on poppy seeds and has a dream about these dancing poppy girls.
So
I like that part.
But in the movie they're poppy hoes. They're not poppy seed
I know,
girls.
that's what I liked about it. I liked it. I like that.
They're like, no, they're questionable. You know, they're
They're
oh,
whores.
they hoes. They're
whores.
I mean, dude, the slide that they go in and come out of is like a pair of lips with a tongue, man. It's like
right.
That shit is,
they are whores.
It's pretty outright erotic. I'm not mad at the erotic, but
I'm talking about the play. And the movie is obvious. The movie is obvious. And then of course, you know, they hired Quincy Jones to be the musical director. Now, Quincy Jones did not enjoy working on The Wiz. The exact words he used for working on this project and trying to take Charlie Smalls' songs from Broadway to film was that he felt like he was, quote, polishing shit, unquote.
Yes, I remember that quote very well.
That being said, he probably did his job better than anybody else hired for this thing. He did a really good job making this very evocative version of that score, even if it was discoed all the way down. It sounds very rich. It's got a lot of different textures to it. You know, the only problem is the vocals for some of the people. Namely Diana and Nipsey. Nipsey couldn't sing at all, so, you know, he's talking through most of his songs, you know. What would I do if I could suddenly feel?
Right.
But I could suddenly sing.
If you can go on YouTube and find about 50 different versions of that song that are way better than his version. And then there's Diana Ross singing the song Stephanie Mills' song. Now,
Jesus Christ,
I might get a lot of comments at B-Touch on this on my Twitter feed, but I don't care. Diana Ross ruined the song at the end of Act 1, Be a Lion. The version of the film is terrible. It is so bad. It's awful. I didn't hear Stephanie Mills' version until way later after I saw the movie, and I was like, oh, that's what she was supposed to be singing?
Yeah, she couldn't do that shit.
Like, it was like, her version of Home, I'll allow it, but Be a Lion, she ruined. Be a Lion sounds terrible in this movie. It slows the movie down, in fact. It's like, it starts dragging at that point.
I mean, you know, it's interesting for me, right? Like, even with all the things that are problematic with the film, Diana Ross is still the worst element of the movie to me. Like, I love the Lion. I love the acting it's done. I like Eveline. I'm a huge fan of the Flying Monkeys represent.
Oh yes,
I fucks with the
terrifying.
Man, yeah, what's happening, Mama?
I could smell them through the screen.
Right.
Disgusting, right?
Yeah, they just smell like just a bunch
big old black lips.
Old adobo and weed is what it's
But then you have Diana Ross screeching at the top of her lungs.
Oh my God! Yeah,
you know,
she killed the movie for me. Like, I'd be like, damn it, Diana. Yeah,
and she's the worst part of everything.
Yeah.
She is.
I take a little bit of issue with Michael Jackson's acting. Not just saying his singing is great. You know, of course, you know, in the Broadway show, the Scarecrow sings a song called "I Was Born on the Day Before Yesterday," which is based on a line in the book when he tells Dorothy his origin story. And Charlie Smalls turned it into a song for the Broadway show. Mm-hmm. There was a song he wrote for the show that didn't make it into the Broadway version called "You Can't Win," which was supposed to be sung by the Winkies, Eveline's slaves, after they kidnapped Dorothy and everything. They cut it out of the show. But when Quincy Jones made the movie, he didn't like any of the songs, but he especially hated I Was Born the Day Before Yesterday. He thought it was a terrible song, so he said, write me a new song here. Charlie Smalls wasn't writing anybody anything at that point. I don't think him and Quincy got along too well, because if you read the liner notes to the Wiz movie soundtrack, they split all the publishing, so that any time Quincy added like a bridge to any of Charlie Smalls' songs, he got separate credit, publishing credit.
Oh.
Yeah. it was feel each other at all.
Yeah. So Charlie Smalls just simply gave him "You Can't Win" and said it, pretend like it was a new song. And so they turned it into Michael Jackson's solo for the film. And Michael Jackson's a great song. The only problem I have with it is that it does not fit the Scarecrow's character at all. As far as in the play version, the movie version of Scarecrow is Michael Jackson playing Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson playing this abused man-child who is unsure of himself and very lacks self-confidence.
What else could he have played?
Right. The Scarecrow in the play and in the original book, is he's too dumb to be self-loathing. He's just very happy-go-lucky and just
right.
Straight up country corn pone type dude. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so other new numbers, they actually hired Ashford Simpson to write a couple of new songs.
Yes.
There are a bunch of songs that Dorothy sings in the film that were written just for Diana Ross to sing by Ashford Simpson. Can I Go On Without Feeling? With the little song she sings when she's by the stove at the beginning of the film. And then Charlie Smalls did write the lyrics for Quincy Jones's redone version of the Emerald City Ballet. In the play, is actually definitely more of a ballet, and when Quincy Jones took it, he wrote a whole different thing, which is the I have to be seen in green.
Yes.
I would be caught dead. Red.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the best part of the movie.
Man, that green part is crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah,
because the actors are in it. It's just those dances. That's why it's the best part.
Yeah.
My problem though is that shit is 15 minutes long.
That's not a problem.
It is a problem.
It's not a problem at all.
I said
Look at you. Wait a minute. Let me get back over here.
Brandon Cordy.
Brandon said that.
Brandon, you don't like that part of this musical? You don't like a long musical scene?
No. No. I like
in a hurry to see more Diana and Mike.
No, I like long musical scenes when they tell the story of the film. Like 5 minutes of "I Want to Be Seen in Green" tells enough story of what's going on there. They go double that, triple
I get that. But this is a movie that we needed some relief.
We did.
And this was the perfect relief from the crap. So it could have been an hour long. I would have been like, "Oh, this is great now."
If I recall properly, Dante, your favorite part is the gold part.
Why is that?
Wait, no. My favorite part is the green part because of the baseline of the green part.
That baseline is crazy, right?
I remember you used like every time you used to talk about a movie, that gold part. You like, oh, that's my part.
No. It was always the green part because it was it's the introductory baseline of the green part.
Okay. And of course, if you look really quickly during the gold part, Quincy Jones is the guy who's playing the piano in that part.
Yes, I remember that.
It's a little cameo. And of course, they cast Richard Pryor as the Wiz.
I love that part.
Now, Richard Pryor as the Wiz is fine in the part. I'm Richard Pryor. He's okay. I'll say in the part at the end where he has to reveal that he's a regular person. But since it's Richard Pryor, they cut all the Wiz's songs out of the entire production. Which, the Wiz has 4 songs in the Broadway musical. Right. And they're important songs, and so they're just gone in this version.
Because he has all of 2 lines in the movie, right? I'm trying to remember.
He has more than 2. He's only in the movie for 15 minutes at best.
Yeah.
Like they make the most of him while he's there, but he's definitely only in the 15 minutes worth of the movie at the very end.
There's cocaine that needed snorting in California, bro.
Yeah. Like when when Andre the Shields was playing the Wiz, he's the star of the show. He takes over the show when he shows up. His entrance is a lot more grand than Richard Pryor's is there's no talking head in the play. It's the Wizard of Oz with the mask on his face, and his gigantic cape and his bell-bottom outfit. And so I'm trying to make sure I got through everything as far as the movie version. They had a hard time shooting this movie. They set up the "I Have to Be Seen in Green" sequence at the base of the World Trade Center, and their set was destroyed at least twice by high windstorms. Because they were shooting in the fall and winter of 1977-78. And they actually had at least 1 crew strike while they were in production.
What was the strike about? More money?
No, just conditions probably.
Okay.
Um,
Diana.
no, it was the crew, not the cast. It was the crew. It was like not the cast. And so that blank check really they brought up a lot of money. They ended up spending $24 million, I believe, on the film, which made it the most expensive musical film ever made to that point. Even if you do it with inflation involved, it's still 5 times more expensive than the Wizard of Oz, the MGM version.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the movie came out the next, like a whole year later, in late 1978, and it bombed. The critics, tore Diana Ross to pieces in their reviews.
Because she can't act.
So satisfying to hear that.
Yeah. And so the movie ended up making, I think, $10 million was the maximum box office they had, and so it sort of it actually scared Hollywood producers and studios away from making more big budget movies starring black people.
Yeah, it ended black. Yeah, it single-handedly ended blaxploitation
era.
Yeah, and
I blame Diana.
It's her fault.
I do blame her. A great lead could have saved a lot of this movie.
Stephanie Mills.
But she was too black. She had a wide nose. She was too brown. She was too black. Mm-hmm. They weren't going to hire her. They were not.
They may have. Of course, the funny thing is Stephanie Mills was dating Michael Jackson at this time, and so she was.
Really?
She was. She was on set while they were filming the movie. Because
how that worked out for her.
I wonder if she was just sitting there watching, like, actually, we did it this way. I'm Diana Ross. We're doing it my way.
Not that part. I'm talking about dating Michael Jackson.
Well, she did get a nose job shortly after that. So.
Yeah.
See, I never knew they dated. That's wild.
I just found that out this week because they were doing press for the Wiz Live, and she mentioned that casually, and then the interviewer was like, "No, go back. You can't run past that. You said you dated Michael Jackson while he was making the Wiz." She's like, "Oh, yes."
Michael Jackson was kind of like Prince at that time. He dated talented women. I mean, Prince had a crush on Patrice Rushen back in the day.
Right.
I mean, their taste in women changed considerably, or things changed considerably through the years. But Michael Jackson wasn't always such a weirdo.
Yeah,
he was not.
This was actually his very first time being alone without his dad or his mom or his brothers around when he made this movie.
Yeah.
And so he sort of kind of he did a little bit of stuff he wouldn't have done regularly, and a little bit of kind of stuff.
He was in love with Diana too.
Yeah. And he went to parties at Studio 54.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
He did.
Yeah, so
that's odd.
Can you imagine that? What is this one is like? Oh, what are you doing?
He sat down, and I seen pictures of him there, and he's always sitting down. Sometimes alone, but he's always just sitting there.
Calling home like Mother, Joseph. It was so interesting. Everybody was doing everything they wanted to do. Yes, ma'am. I brought my Bible.
Here.
I brought my Bible.
Mike, I'm gonna whip your ass when I see you.
You will.
Right. And it's funny, man. Michael Jackson is one of the textbook example of child stars going wrong, man. You don't give a kid a chance to be a normal human being, man, and it's going to turn out bad. It's going to turn out bad.
He got around them freaks of the industry, and
it
was over. He changed, and it was because of the company he kept. A lot of white folks were grabbing at him. They wanted a piece of Michael Jackson. And it warped his sense of self dramatically.
You talked about it earlier in one of the early episodes. You see Michael Jackson back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, and he's hanging out with these Jack Nicholson and these counterculture white stars in Hollywood, and he has
Freddie Mercury.
Right, he has no social skills,
cokeheads,
drug heads, all types of orgies and shit, and he doesn't have basic social skills. They set that dude up to fail, man.
Right.
Yeah. I think the best thing that came out of the Wiz movie production was the fact that Michael Jackson met Quincy Jones.
Right.
Yes.
Of course, and after that, you got Off the Wall, you got Thriller, and you got Bad, which are 3 of the highest selling records of all time, 3 of the most influential records of all time, regardless of genre.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. I think it's the Wiz is one of those type things, man, where it's a cultural touchstone. I think,
because since it flopped, more or less, it became one of those easy to sell films to syndication later, and so it was on TV all the time in the 80s. Yeah. And that's where it was rediscovered. Black kids grew up in the early 80s, saw The Wiz all the time, and so
yeah,
that's where it got its actual audience from, not from its original theatrical release.
I mean, when I was a kid, man, that shit was event television. You know what I mean? I remember we had HBO back in the day, and if it came on HBO, like, we were watching it. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, yes.
Just going to watch that shit.
You could not watch it. It took me a long time to come out and say, as a person, and say, The Wiz sucked. I had to hide this. I had to, seriously, I had to hide my real feelings about this movie for a long time, because this is the quintessential black success movie. Like, oh, we made it. Right. So I couldn't say anything bad about the movie. So it took me a long time. I mean, like, really recently, to be able to say, you know what, this movie was horrible.
Yeah.
And people get mad at me.
I don't think it's horrible.
No, I don't think it's horrible either.
Yes, you do, Kareem.
No, I don't.
Kareem.
Look, listen. Look, Rachel, if I can finish, please. Look, I know horrible. There are movies I think are horrible. I think The Wiz. One, I hate musicals, right? I think The Wiz is probably one of my 3 favorite musicals. Just because of the performances and the music in it. It's just so fucking dope. The movie itself, you take Diana Ross out of it, it won't be as ass-tacular as it is.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's just Diana Ross just kills that shit for me, man. And like now knowing that Sidney Lumet directed it and seeing, well, I mean, the guy who made 12 Angry Men is directing the fucking Wiz. Sure, why not?
Right.
Yeah, I first saw it in the 2nd grade during a rainout day at PE. Like I came in late for whatever reason to the PE, and like it was already on. I said, "What are y'all watching?" And like the white kid turned to me and said, "We're watching The Wiz." I was like, "The what?" "Oh, it's like The Wizard of Oz with Diana Ross playing Dorothy." I said, "Oh." And so I sat down, little 7-year-old me. My first thought was, "Why is the black version of The Wizard of Oz so dingy looking?" It was the scene where they were in the dungeon with Eveline. And like the fire extinguisher and the toilet and everything.
Right.
That was disgusting.
Yeah, she did die. She did get flushed in the toilet to die.
Yes, she did.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So look, before we shit on it, right? Because we're gonna shit on it. We know that's all right. Favorite scenes from the movie? What y'all got?
You Can't Win, just because it's Michael Jackson. If the Emerald City sequence and the Brand New Day were half of their length, I would like them better. Like, even though it's kind of strange for grown men to be doing kicks and turns with like basically wearing draws.
That's why I loved it.
Let's see what else. Favorite scenes. I do like Diana Ross singing "Home." I don't love it, but I'm okay with it.
Clean horn. Yep.
Yeah.
Ted Ross coming out of the Central Park line and doing his Amino line thing. That's really good. I'm trying to think of anything else.
I got You Can't Win. You can't. I mean, you just can't beat. You can't win. I got that damn horrifying scene in the subway.
I don't even like thinking about that.
I mean, that shit. I mean, it's hell of effective because everybody I know is still terrified by it, right?
Yeah.
I like the Poppy Seed song.
Yeah.
That bass
which sounds a lot like "For the Love of Money" by the OJs.
Oh yeah, yeah. I noticed that when I was a kid. Yeah. The same bass line. I really like "Brand New Day," the dance routine. Can't you see a brand new? There's like one of the women who unzipped her suit and had like this big afro underneath it.
That was great.
That was the exact moment puberty started for me.
I actually remember that part. It was wonderful to
I was
see
like,
that.
oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause, you don't see like black people eroticized like that. I was
Right.
like, oh, shit.
That stands out to me
Quincy
too.
had all them damn saxophones.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Rachel. What's up?
No, my favorites were unfortunately Nipsey's song.
Which one?
The What Would I Do?
Okay.
Yeah. Because the background singers sounded so beautiful, and it stuck with me.
What would I do?
Yeah,
Gorgeous,
that
man.
and Mabel King, her parts
Yeah.
No bad
were my
news.
favorite. She really threw herself into that role.
Hey, you
It
know
was
what?
such a contrast from what I remember her from being on What's Happening.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't even know she could sing, and she was so animated, and to have this big fat black woman, and she was, and I liked it that she played a mean person. She was very physical in the role. She was not in any way whatsoever meek. She was not a mammy.
Yeah, she's bold. Yeah.
I loved seeing her play that role, and it made me see that we don't have to just play a certain type of woman because we are big, dark skinned, older. She did an incredible job. It was so unlike her, and that showed me how great of an actor and performer she was, that she could play Roger's mom and go and just turn out these scenes and sing it and be so, what's the word?
Bold.
I don't know. She was just so animated.
Yeah. Would you like mustard? She
transformed herself.
Would you like mustard or sauerkraut on your hot
dog? Yeah, she was ridiculous.
She was very animated. I loved seeing her do this, and this is part of the opportunities were not there for her, for me to be able to see her do this elsewhere.
Right.
She still remained a mammy throughout her career,
which is crazy.
So, and it just disappointed me. So, when I say that her parts were my favorite, it's because not because she can sing. It really represented a lot to me as a black woman to watch her play these ranges of characters that I don't get to see us do. It's 2015 and we're still mammy.
Right.
All right. I got to put my shit in there.
I mean, like yours was so noble. Like mine are like of course the Emerald City Secrets, but I like just like it because it's like black opulence to like the 10th power.
Right. Yeah.
Just like rocking like I'm trying to remember the designers that they enlisted for that.
At the end of the film, because Joe Schumacher, he comes from the fashion industry, and so he got a lot of his friends to donate stuff. So at the end of the film, in the credits, they have a long list of famous designers who contributed stuff to the movie.
Yeah, because it wasn't like De La Renta and like I'm trying to remember. It was a whole bunch of like very designer brands, but then that You Can't Win, of course.
Right.
No Bad News is still one of my favorite things to watch. I was actually watching that on the train the other day. And what else? So did anybody else find like the flying monkeys like chasing them through that parking lot thing scary?
Yes. The flying monkeys were
terrifying.
Yeah. Because they didn't have legs or hands; they were the monkeys, right? So it's like,
and the faces.
Some of them had beards. Yeah, they had like.
You remember they had on shades?
Yeah.
And I think one of them had a cigar.
Yeah.
They were so black. They were really they were the niggers of the movie.
Yes, they were.
They were creepy. Yeah. Now another favorite scene of mine, man, like being like from the South. Lena Horne, her performance at the end.
I didn't like that.
You didn't like that?
I don't like her. I'm not a fan of her or her singing. So I tend to that's enough. She's not the greatest singer. I don't care what anybody says.
Okay. She hit it with the gospel for me, and I was like, what's up? You know what I mean?
No, the floating babies were weird though.
I mean, yeah, but again, for me, it was like you never see black babies on TV, so it was like
right.
Seeing like black babies be cute and shit in the background was like, shit, it's cute black babies.
It was kind of a Afrofuturistic type of scene.
Mm-hmm. So
very futuristic.
Very much so. And I think the Wiz is a pretty good analog for like the original book, because the book is about that whole transfer of America from being like agrarian to like industrial and paper money and all that shit. If you watch the Wiz, it's like we went from being like field hands and shit, Scarecrow, to being vaudevillians, which vaudevillians of the North, performers and shit, Tin Man, to trying to be intellectuals, the Lion, and trying to make our way out of the Wonderland. It works. They don't do it well, but it's a good analog.
Right. I mean, the whole idea of like, sorry, I had to step out for a quick second. But like the whole idea of how the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion want things they already have. That aspect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the movie, in The Wiz, they sort of kind of overdo it a little bit. The Lion's already super courageous. The Scarecrow is already smart enough to be able to quote all these people who he has in his as part of his trash.
Yeah,
and
say it.
the
Yeah.
Tin Man shows up crying about a teen, a teen.
Tina. Yeah. Tina was a big girl.
Teen was a
Yes.
mammy.
Yeah,
Literally, she was like literally
Was
like.
that Mammy Two Shoes? Because we didn't get to see her. We didn't get to see that woman's whole body, right?
No, we didn't.
So that was that was Mammy Two Shoes, y'all.
That's how she met her end.
Wow.
Trying to kill the Tin Man.
I'm connecting these dots.
Hey.
All right, and so now for this last segment, of course, NBC for their third, because live musicals used to be a thing back in the 50s and 60s. They haven't done them in a long time, and so NBC brought them back under the production of two guys, Craig Marin and crap, what are these guys' names? Shoot. This is their third year of doing live musicals, and they first year was Sound of Music, second year was Peter Pan, so this year they picked The Wiz, and we can blame Empire for that because they bought the rights to The Wiz and The Music Man, and they were like, which one should we choose? And then Empire came on and did X amount of ratings, so that question became moot at that point. Craig Zadan and Neil Mirren. I almost had it right. I always get their names reversed. That's why I wanted to look it up, make sure I got it right. They also produced the movie Hairspray, which is why Queen Latifah and Elijah Kelly are here, and Rock of Ages, which is why Mary J. Blige is here. So a lot of this is them casting their friends. They've cast Elijah Kelly, who is who plays Seaweed in Hairspray, and it's really good. Even though if John was here, John doesn't like Elijah Kelly. He just think he can sing. That's what he says. He says that every time we talk about it.
Who was Elijah Kelly?
If you ever seen Hairspray, he plays teenage boy in Hairspray, the black boy who falls in love with the white girl.
I didn't see that.
He's in something else. I can't remember.
I'm not a musical fan.
Red Tails. And he's in The Butler. He plays the little brother in The Butler.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah,
I didn't see any of that.
Yeah. Neo, Schaefer Smith, is playing the Tin Woodsman.
I don't know about that.
I've already made the joke about how Neo was an alto and he had to raise all those keys of all his songs. But if anybody's gonna sing a sort of kind of simpy ballad about what would I do if I could feel, it'd probably be Neo.
Of course.
I wasn't too enamored with his acting on Empire, but a lot of people were. So hey, we'll see what happens.
He was in Battle of Los Angeles, but he just played himself.
Yeah.
What was he doing? What was he in Battle?
He was one of the soldiers. He was the one that was getting married. He did not have a hat on. He had on glasses.
Really?
He was also in Stomp the Yard.
And he was in Red Tails.
He was in Red Tails? Yeah.
He was in Red Tails.
With that ambiguous Southern accent.
Right.
Now I remember. Damn. I had blocked that out of my memory. I was trying to remember if I didn't remember.
When he does role, he's there. You don't remember him in anything until you see him. Oh, he was in that because he's not. He's just there.
Yeah.
And they hired extra.
Yeah.
They hired extra.
Yeah. They hired David Alan Grier. He's playing the Cowardly Lion.
Now I'm enthusiastic about that because I think he's an excellent actor. He's funny. I love him.
And he can sing his ass off. I saw him in Porgy and Bess.
Yeah.
Why was Chocolate News? Why did they get rid of that? That was so funny.
Ahead of its time.
Yeah, I think
so good.
It was ahead of its time, and the ratings weren't what they should have been. I think was what the two problems were.
It's one of those shows that was like 5 years too early.
Yeah.
I love that show.
Yo, did you ever see it? It's like as a little aside. It's when he hosted an episode of Saturday Night Live years ago, and he did a portrayal of Maya Angelou for Butterfinger.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh
and Pennzoil and everything. Yes.
Man, that shit is so crispity, crunchity Butterfinger. It's lie, your chocolatey depths. Yeah,
it was great.
Love that dude.
Yes.
Everything he does is funny.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Yeah. And of course, since it's The Wiz, the Elijah Kelly scarecrow costume is a unkempt afro. And the lion on stage had a gigantic afro, and also in the movie as well, he had a curly afro. David Alan Grier's lion has dreadlocks.
Yeah.
So unnecessary and stupid.
Well, the Scarecrow on Broadway had buckwheat braids, so, that's an upgrade, so. And they got a newcomer. Her name is Shanice Williams. She won the part out of like 100 plus.
I don't like her.
You don't like her? Man, why don't you like her?
Like what?
Oh no!
She ain't done nothing yet. She ain't done nothing yet. She just showed up.
I don't have to see what she's done. I don't like her
Oh no!
in this role. I don't think that she has the presence. She might have the chops, but I don't see her. I don't think she has a strong enough presence to play this role. And I don't like her.
Well, you know,
I don't have to.
they might be going for the whole Dorothy as a timid kid who grows into her power. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's the story that that's supposed to be in there. You know, when Diana did it, you know, out the window, but
She's just a little too cutesy for me. I think I'd like to see somebody with just a little bit of an edge. You know, I got a lot of problem with the hair in this thing, with everybody's hair. Nobody's got a real natural hair. Even her hair is, you know, I don't know what that is.
Well, no, her hair is hers because she had that hair when she auditioned.
That's true.
It's hers, but it has like blue.
It's
like,
manipulated
pieces.
like a lot of us naturals do. We grease it down, and we want the curl so defined that it no longer looks like our hair. It looks like a texturizer.
Okay.
I want to see a true nappy, kinky haired person. So I don't care if it's her hair. It's not her hair. She manipulated the fuck out of it.
Okay. I see what you're saying. I got you.
But you know what? That's neither here nor there. I wish this young lady much success. That's just me I'm being petty.
All right. Playing Ada Pearl. They're not doing Miss One. They're doing Ada Pearl. Is Amber Riley. If you've seen the pictures, you know she's like dressed in all blue. She's got a blue like swoop wig on.
Overrated.
Really?
Amber Riley?
Yes. I don't care what she was in Glee for 15 years. I
Wait till you're breaking my heart.
Look at my face.
Right.
Queen Latifah, and in a reversal of the usual casting, Queen Latifah is cast as the Wizard of Oz. So
Rachel's face.
What happened?
Rachel's face.
What's her face like that? What happened? What happened?
No,
She's not feeling Latifah.
I don't want to speak on it because I will rant and go on for an hour about just that.
Okay.
Latifah?
And when I first announced it, I did say, really? But from what I've seen, like I can sort of see where they're going with it. You know, they've definitely given her a masculine appearance, played a Wiz.
I don't have as opposed to what? Her feminine side? When did she ever had a feminine appearance? Even though living single, she was wearing butch gear.
Oh man.
Her office attire was, come on.
Pantsuits and
Vests.
Right.
But yeah, you know, and so they actually put the preview out. The one they put out yesterday has her singing. So you wanted to see the Wizard songs, so she's gonna be singing the songs. They did hire, for whatever reason, they hired Common to play the gatekeeper, which is a very small part, unless they've given him unless they give him a second. It's literally blink and you miss him.
Good.
Which I'm surprised that they did that. They didn't hire a celebrity to play Uncle Henry.
You know, there's like a bunch of like actual actors out there somewhere. They're
gonna watch this. Yeah.
I mean, look, I understand the frustration. Like, you know, Samuel Jackson said this shit, and Denzel said it a while back. Like, you know, they're actual black actors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Everybody doesn't have to be a rapper or a singer who can't act. You know what I mean? And
Right.
if you're going to get one who can act, and get one who actually can act.
Yeah, because his part is a non-singing part. It is anyway. But of course, you know, they have a whole, you know, like ensemble of the other little parts as well. They could have got one of them, but I mean, they got Common. I guess they want to draw, you know, Common's audience.
And that would be?
Like, exactly.
Who was like, I'm going to the movie because Common in it? Like,
Nobody.
Right.
Nobody.
Oh, baby girl.
And then they have
These are white decisions. These are white decisions. I want y'all to know that the white people making these decisions to put these people in here. Ain't no nigga decided to do that. Not a real one. Not a real one.
Yeah, it sounds like demographic casting for real.
It
does. It does. Stephanie Mills is playing Auntie M, which is good.
Yes, hallelujah.
And then they have Uzo Aduba playing Glinda the Good Witch. Me and Rachel already talked about this. They put a blonde, straight up a wig on her head.
Dolly Parton.
Okay, you know what? All right, I'm about to rant like Rachel does.
Yes.
Yeah, so my thing is, I hate, like, how they try to make, like, I call it Rusty Dusty. They get these really good-looking, attractive, athletic black women who are, like, young and try to make them just look raggedy as fuck. Because Rusty Dusty Viola Davis before The Help, right? She played Antoine Fisher's birth mother.
Yeah.
And, I mean, she played a variants of that role, like, repeatedly, right? Uzo Aduba is fine as shit, but she plays crazy eyes. She's a legitimately good-looking and talented, attractive woman, but...
Black woman.
Right. Like, she's an African, right?
Nubian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But, they have her, like, literally bugging her eyes with buckwheat shit in her hair. And I understand why they do that on Orange is the New Black, but still. You know what I mean? So... I appreciate them trying to making her Glinda the Good Witch, but she can be the Good Witch without being blonde.
She can be the fine, black, big afro wearing bronze goddess Good Witch.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They could have given her, like Rachel was saying, a blonde afro instead of giving her a blonde, like, curly wig, whatever they gave her.
Yeah. Or they could have gave her just a black afro and she should still be the Good Witch.
Right.
And why does blonde hair equal good?
Well, the idea is that she's wearing yellow LED lights in her gown, and so she's gonna glow when she's on stage.
They could have put a damn light bulb in her afro.
On top of that, like
put lights in the afro.
Looking at the picture, like that shade of blonde with, depending on how they light her skin, it probably could wash her out. But that's a little bit too much, and I feel like way too gay making that sentence. So I'm going to say.
And of course, they're doing this live on the 3rd. Like they've done pre-rehearsals and previews. Oh, sorry, Mary J. Blige is playing Eveline.
Wait, let's just stop for a second. Mary J. Blige is acting live.
That was my problem when they first announced her. I said, "What are they doing?"
Did they see the Burger King commercial?
Right. It's like she doesn't work on camera and she's doing it live. Like she doesn't work pre-recorded.
And
see anything she's done
ever? Right. She's singing live. Like Mary, we love Mary, but we all know she has an issue with pitch when she sings live.
But I'm fine with that because they can auto-tune you live. They can.
Yeah, they can.
That's whatever.
Yeah. Computers are wonderful. They can't auto-tune the acting though. And the Wicked Witch, the Wizard of Oz rises and falls based on the Wicked Witch. Basically, she's got to, she has to be the menace that makes the entire play work. I said, and I kept saying, after they cast Mary, they should have got Tashina Arnold, from Martin. Because she did it when they did the Encore's production with Ashanti playing Dorothy, like in 2009. And Tashina Arnold, she worked the shit out of that role. She sang No Bad News.
She can sing.
She had the entire audience just on their feet. Like she was so good. And she's a known personality. She's on Survivor Remorse right now. People know who she is. I mean, she may not be Mary J. Blige famous, but she's definitely famous.
Right.
She's famous for being talented.
Right.
But see,
Mary J. Blige is famous for being Mary J. Blige.
You got to look at, again, like Rachel said, there's a certain element in Hollywood that don't know the difference. You know what I mean? They don't know the nuance of casting different types of black people. It's like, do I know? Have I seen this person before? Or are they a bankable name? Period. That's it. They don't give a fuck about the talent.
But they cast David Allen Greer, who is not that.
What is an NBC production? David Allen Greer is a star of Carmichael Show.
Yeah,
he probably knocked the auditions out the box.
Yeah, I'm certain, he's a stage vet, man. So I'm certain he killed that shit. I'm certain
he's got his height going for him, and he can sing a little bit. So yeah.
So
they have Kenny Leon, who's the director of the Raisin in the Sun, the one that Puffy did a couple of years ago. Dante.
Please don't bring him up right now.
Okay, but and they've hired Cirque du Soleil to do acrobatic sequences. So when they do the Tornado Ballet, the Emerald City Ballet, and the Flying Monkeys dance sequence, they're going to be using acrobatic stuff, people flipping and shit. I'm assuming they're going to be putting some of these folks on hoisters when the Flying Monkeys come and take them away, which David Allen Greer is 60 years old. Be careful.
So wait, Kenny Leon is directing it?
So odd.
Yeah, he is.
Shout outs to Kenny Leon doing big things. That's all right. Straight out
Yeah.
the A.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's a problem I just learned this week. Of course, Fatima Robinson is the choreographer.
Okay.
I just learned this week that she's decided to incorporate contemporary dances into this show. So we will have Dorothy and her friends nay-naying and hitting the quan at certain points during this production.
I mean, depending upon how they do it.
It's such a clusterfuck right now. Why not? Why not?
I don't want to. How they gonna learn about a quan and a nay-nay?
Let's just throw every bullshit thing we can in it. Why not?
Y'all can't see this on the audio version, but how they gonna be in there? Can you feel a brand new? How is that gonna work?
really, if you, honestly though,
just throw some chicken on stage. Spit watermelon seeds in the audience. Anything.
Look,
why not?
I'm more optimistic about it. Because really, if you look at any new dance, ain't shit but an old dance repackage, right? So, it really is like the nay-nay is nothing but the vaudeville hat dance shit that they do going off the stage. That's all the fuck that is.
It is.
So
Don't you say that? I know.
That's all it is. So you see what I'm saying? That's all it is. So if you could just roll all that shit into a routine, it won't stick out as much. But
she's doing too much. Fatima's doing too much.
Fatima's doing a lot.
I
was happy when they hired her because I was like, ooh, she choreographed so much. She did Dreamgirls and gave us the tambourine kids, with the boom boom with the set to the bass. I was like, she can do it. Whipping nay nay. Okay.
I'm not feeling that.
Speaking of Dreamgirls, they hired Harvey Mason Jr. as the music producer. He did the production on Dreamgirls as well.
What up?
And so and Stephen what's the man's name? It's maybe sure I can pronounce correctly. Ormias, I guess how you pronounce it. He's going to be the conductor because, of course, it's live, so you got to have a live orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be they're in Long Island rehearsing this stuff, and they're going to be broadcasting live from Long Island on the 3rd of December.
Long Island.
Yeah, it's like a big warehouse they have when they do these productions out there. So they have the room to build all the sets. So they have 15 cameras, and they have this set here, and then when they go into the next one, they camera cut to this one, so that they aren't all in one confined set at 30 Rock. They have a big layout, that they stretch. They go from one set to the next, to the next, to the next while they're on live.
Yeah, this is gonna be a clusterfuck.
Here's the problem. When they did Sound of Music and they did Peter Pan, it wasn't quite a clusterfuck, but they were sort of boring.
Did you watch Peter Pan?
I watched Sound of Music. Sound of Music was boring.
No,
Was Peter Pan a clusterfuck?
Peter Pan was a clusterfuck of epic proportions.
What happened? Tell me about it.
I didn't see it.
No, if I remember, wasn't it Christopher Walken who played fucking?
Walken was
yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, watching him. That's my baby.
No.
What happened, Dante? What happened?
He sang his own shit, right?
Yeah, he sang his own shit, and it's just like it was like I watched the entire thing. I was like, how much drugs did everyone do to participate in this? Like there had to be drugs involved.
Even the kids.
Even the kids. There had to be drugs involved.
Kids were cracked out.
Oh.
No, it was bad.
I give NBC props for trying to bring back the whole live musical on television thing. It's bold. You know what I'm saying? It's ambitious.
Yeah.
And I say there's somebody who fucking hates musicals.
Right.
I give him props for it. So, yeah. Okay, like y'all. Okay, you say you wanted to see The Wiz get like an update with a decent budget.
Yeah, we did.
Here we go.
I sort of wanted it to be like like a movie, but this is okay. This is okay, but my issue is this. I've been sort of slipping around Black Twitter and also the Facebook page for The Wiz Live, and even though there's a big ass banner at the top of this Facebook page, people still don't understand that this is a live production. It's not a movie.
Right.
So
we don't read.
So they're gonna tune in and see them doing this, and it's gonna look like a stage play, and they're gonna be confused and angry. Y'all know how Black Twitter does. They get people out the paint, and this is going on Thursday, the Thursday after next. Well, we have to see it tomorrow, and it's up against the Shonda Rhimes block. No.
The Shonda Rhimes block is on hiatus.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so Rachel has to go. So we say we see you later, Rachel.
Bye, Rachel.
Bye, Rachel.
All right. Thanks for so much.
Bye, y'all.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for hanging out.
Bye. The Shonda Rhimes block is on hiatus until February. So
really? Their hiatus began this early.
Yeah, it's the winter finale.
Yeah, because the day this comes out, Empire is having its mid-season finale.
No, it should be Empire should be having it on the Wednesday before it comes out.
No. It'll be to come out the second. The schedule is they have a show next week and then a show in the second. Then they're off until the last week of March. Yeah,
but they have a show on the second. The Wiz thing is on the third.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said it was coming on the same night.
This show, the one that we're recording, I'm saying, comes out the same day.
Ah, yeah. Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, so they're up against reruns. So okay, so they have the audience then. So they're good.
but that means they're gonna have the full wrath of Black Twitter. There's there's nothing to siphon them off. There's
you ain't hiding from shit.
Right.
So to that end, I guess this would be a good time to go up and make sure people understand the differences between what they saw in 1978, the 78 movie at least, and what they're going to see on the stage, at least from what we know based on the actual play.
Number one, what we said in New York.
yeah, they in Kansas. Until they don't get in Kansas, they're in Oz. Oz is not New York. I've seen the sets they're using. They're taking a little bit inspiration from the movie. So Evelyn's lair is a factory. Mm-hmm. But they're in Oz. They are not in New York City. That's one. Number two, they are using "You Can't Win," so don't worry about that. But they're rewriting it a little bit because they have to take it from the depressing part to a uplifting part because they still have the same scarecrow. Mm-hmm. So they have to change the lyrics a little bit to the third verse, or add on a fourth verse. I think is what they're doing actually. When the Tin Man appears, he sings "Slide Some Oil," but he does not sing his other song until later in the production.
Okay.
This what I do if I could feel is actually what makes the Wizard of Oz convinced to help them. It's the last song in the first act.
Oh so God, I don't want to hear Neo sing that song.
What would I do?
I mean, I feel like I'm in the minority on this, but I don't think Neo can sing really. So
he can sing, but he sings such simpy, whiny songs that is like from a technical standpoint, being able to hit certain notes at a certain time. Yes, he can sing, but do we?
I mean, everybody in the mama from a technical standpoint can do that.
Right, but he just can't do it effectively.
Right. So, speaking of Neo, him, Elijah Kelly, and Harvey Mason Jr. and Stephen Ramirez have written a new song for this production, which they'll be using when after the Wiz sends them to go kill off Evelyn. They have a song where they're on their way to go find Evelyn and kill her. I guess they decided they needed an extra song there. I don't know. I wouldn't have done it, but that's what they're doing. What else? Of course, they're doing new arrangements of all these songs, so they won't sound like Quincy Jones' versions at all, because Quincy Jones discoed the shit out of those records.
Right.
Like, if you hear the ones on the Cats album, they're closer to that. They're closer to a more moderate R&B sound.
Okay.
Without a lot of the, like, boom, 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 and the congos and everything,
Yeah. Hey, so how long is it?
It's 3 hours.
Okay.
It's from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Other changes, of course, there's no I Want to Be Seen in Green. They're going to be doing the Emerald City Ballet, which they have lyrics that they optional lyrics they can use, which they probably will, because that'll make it seem more like the one that's in the movie. But it's a different song entirely, a different feel entirely, and a different theme, because it's all about how Emerald City, everybody's wearing the green glasses like in the book, because Emerald City actually is not green. It's only green because everybody wears green glasses and thinks it's green. And so there's like this ballet thing, which I guess they'll use the Cirque du Soleil acrobats, in the background and everything while they're doing it.
Was the Universal Circus busy? Is that why they
that that ain't right.
Oh, such strong hate, such strong hate.
What else? To make sure I get all the changes out of the way. Of course, the Wizard of Oz is not, a goofy, well, until the very end, it's this, it's he or she. I don't know if Quincy was playing a male or if it's just, her playing a female, as the Wizard of Oz. But the character is still gonna be, a shuckster. But until the very end of the show, it's played as frightening, and powerful. Mm-hmm. And there's those songs are still there. I'm pretty sure anything else that's really big things. They're not gonna get naked during Brand New Day. The costumes will come up, but they won't get naked. They can't get naked on live TV.
So no Golden Maid bikinis and barely their draws.
No.
Darn.
If you actually look at their previews, you can see the costumes. They're like shorts and shirts that are sort of kind of dyed orange in places.
Okay.
So sorry.
I mean, some standards and practices.
Yeah, because somebody might kick too high, and then FCC fines. You saw what happened to Janet Jackson.
Yep. And that was like 3/4 of a black titty in the world stop.
Right.
Imagine if a testicle pop out, bro.
Yeah. Let's see what else. You see a lot more of the Oz characters, the field mice who arrest the lion when he trips on the poppy seeds. Ada Pearl shows up again at the end to introduce us to Glinda the Good Witch. I wonder if they'll use the whole thing about the Scarecrow getting his brains from a GED. I'm not sure if they'll go over too well. They might have to rewrite that.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Harvey Firestein, the actor and now award-winning playwright, is the one who's writing the screenplay, the teleplay rather.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, no, Kinky Boots was actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's why they hired him, because he did Kinky Boots, and because he did, I think he did like something else that he won award for. I want to say it was. It's not like La Cage Off Follies. He did that way back in the day. Where's his I want to say it was Newsies, but I'm not certain of that.
Well, I mean, La Cage Off Follies did.
It is Newsies. It is.
Oh, Newsies. It is Newsies. Okay.
Yeah.
But no, Kinky Boots was actually really good. So I'll give him that. Like the play was actually really, really good. So
yeah. And so make sure I got everything down so that I'm not gonna, because I don't want anybody. It's gonna happen anyway, but I don't want to see a whole thing of where's Miss One? Where's why are they in New York City? There's gonna be a lot of that still. There's a bunch of songs that are not in the movie anyway. Who Do You Think You Are? Y'all Got It, which is a song the wizard sings when he takes off in his balloon. Arrested Body is Arrested Mind. That's Glinda the Good Witch sings when she shows up. I think everything else is sort of kind of still, people will recognize it at least. They'll recognize it from the movie, they recognize it from the book, and from the Judy Garland film, rather. But yeah, so good luck. I hope they could do well. They put a lot of money into this thing. They've been taking these folks all around doing interviews and stuff for the last couple of weeks.
I mean, let's be real. It's on NBC, and NBC as a network, they're not doing well.
NBC is a great corporation, sir.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yes.
I can speak of them as I want to. So I will say.
But yeah, so we'll see what happens. If they do well, I mean, their plan is to take all of this work and put it back on Broadway next year. If they don't, it's going to be an epic Twitter dragging of the proportions of the Aaliyah movie that Wendy Williams produced.
Though I will say, I hope it does well, just because I want to be able to see The Wiz on Broadway at least once. That'd be kind of dope.
Yeah, that would be really great if they could actually pull that off and put it back on Broadway. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. I mean, like, you guys, when you guys hear this, y'all be seeing it tomorrow. I don't know, get your viewing parties together. As y'all Twitter folks get your emojis on deck.
Get your brown liquor ready.
There's gonna be some memes made, man. I will guarantee you.
I have a feeling that most of them are going to be based around Mary J. Blige and Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
Listen, if Mary J. does those damn rap hands and like in that outfit they made for her, she's sitting up there like, don't know about rapping, no bad news, and like the hand is going like this.
Can we talk about how one they barely include her in any of the promo, and two, the outfit, like the picture of her in that outfit, like what is that outfit?
Well, the first thing, I think that she simply was not available until now to actually get involved with the production.
What's she doing?
I don't know what she's doing. Latifah just showed up last week. Like the rest of them been rehearsing for like 2 months.
I mean, but with
the
Latifah,
people who need the most rehearsal ain't showing up. That's a problem.
Well, at least with Latifah, like Latifah actually has like stuff that's going on. Like Mary J. Blige ain't doing shit. What's she doing?
Maybe she was on tour somewhere, like like Timbuktu or something. We don't know.
Is she performing in Apple Music commercials? That's keeping her busy.
That's funny.
I don't know what's going on. I do know is that she finally has shown up, and like her costume, I think is all right. Like it's very steampunk for some reason, but
it's very steampunk. And then like, did you realize that her crown is braids? Did you realize that it's her hair braided into those shapes?
Really?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Like pearls. I'm looking at it right now. Yep.
Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, of course it is.
I thought she looked a little bit like a Black Maleficent, a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I can see that's what they were going for. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I thought I preferred Tashina's outfit. Like it was like like fire engine red. She had red hair to go with it. A red wig, which she put on stage. Like the Yankees put her wig on.
I watched that. Like she like was changing hair and everything. It was awesome.
You know what? Like guys, from this conversation, so y'all made me think about something I never thought about before. But The Wiz as fucking sci-fi. Remaking The Wiz as an Afrofuturist sci-fi. That shit would be dope as hell.
The thing is this, before this was announced, I actually was going to start doing treatments, and like I was going to do that. I was going to see if I could like put together like, because I so wanted The Wiz remake that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start working on it myself.
Yeah.
Happened, so.
I mean, look, man, there's always things get remade and remade and remade. Mm-hmm. They're like 5 years. So, man, 3 years from now, people will forget that this happened. And, yeah. I mean, look. No, for real. Like, how many Peter Pan movies have been made in the past 5 years? Entirely too fucking many, right?
That's very true, actually. The one just came out last month.
Right, exactly. Right. And the musical. And they're supposed to be doing another version of it. And so, yeah, hell yeah. Give it time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there are a lot of people though, who are diehard fans of The Wiz, like diehard, like more so than y'all two. Who, when this was announced, they rejected it just wholeheartedly. Like, nope, you can't do this. Can't remake it. It's The Wiz. It's perfect. Everybody try to remake everything.
Listen, man. The Wiz and The Color Purple. If you were 80s baby, don't nobody say nothing bad about neither one of them movies.
Well, The Color Purple, they made a whole musical out of it. I mean, like, it's performed somewhere every day. The Wiz is the same way. I mean, The Wiz was a musical first.
But see, the difference is The Color Purple musical is actually good, like really good. Like the way y'all feel about The Wiz, I feel like The Color Purple times 10. Color Purple's fucking terrible. But Color Purple is is it a comedy or a drama? Exactly.
My favorite Kareem quote is that he feels like The Color Purple is a remake of Cabin in the Sky.
It is.
Wow. Wow.
I think I read an interview somewhere where Spielberg said that's one of his biggest inspirations in directing the fucking movie, Cabin in the Sky. I'm dead ass.
I'm about to go jump out that window right now.
I will say the Color Purple play, at least the one that was out with Fantasia and the League a few years back, was more faithful to the book than the movie ever.
Yeah. I mean, the movie was rated PG-13. They had to cut around so much just to be able to finish it that they couldn't do like an authentic version of it at all.
Well, yeah, they just.
Sorry, go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna say, just like they just simply implied that Celie and Suge were a thing, whereas in the book, like they're full
The book stops cold for 5 pages. I remember this. I was 16 years old when I had to read it in school. 5 pages of Celie and Suge Avery having sex.
Yes.
Yeah. Explicit detail.
Yes.
I remember going, Miss Smith, should we? Is this appropriate reading for us?
And Miss Smith should have been like, Alice Walker's a lesbian, baby. That should have been a response.
I hope she see this, huh, Miss Smith? But yeah, so yeah, I mean, like, if you guys have anything else to add at all about this, like,
I'm okay. I look forward to it. I'm not really a appointment television person because on demand and torrents and streaming and shit, DVR and the life that I live ain't really conducive to it. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's a success. I hope it's not as ass as certain elements of it may think that it will be. I think that the new chick is good. The new Dorothy should be pretty good. I expect David Alan Grier to be great. So we'll see, man. I hope it gets good ratings, and I'm looking forward to the memes.
Yeah, all right. Dante?
I'm looking forward to trashing Mary J. Blige's performance because I just know it's going to be ass.
Yeah. And now, does Mary J. Blige still have her pre-Beyonce beehive? Remember back in the day when Mary first came out, you couldn't say nothing bad about Mary. Is that?
Well, those people are probably like in their late 30s, early 40s by now. Like,
and they got a job again.
Late 30s? Wait, did you say late 30s? They in their late 40s, early 50s by now.
I had a friend of mine I was working with back then. Like, I said something about Mary J. Blige and her issues with pitch. He walked out of my house. We were working on music and we had stuff to do. He's like, I'm leaving, man. I'm back.
No, I remember I went to a Mary J. Blige concert and that bitch sang off key for the entire thing except for the last song. Like, and no, I'm not talking about like off key, like, you know, like, oh, you can't really tell. No, noticeably off key the entire concert, and it was her songs.
Right. This is shit like, when you can't sing it on pitch. Like, how did it get on the album? Like,
right.
I got a homegirl lady I used to date, older sister, and so she hated Mary J. Blige, like hated Mary J. Blige so much so to we went to Essence Festival and Mary J. performed at the Essence Festival, and from that point on she called her Mary J. Much Obliged because that bitch should be grateful she got a career. I was like, damn.
I mean, it's the equivalent.
I like her music though, like it's like her recorded music. Like it's, I mean, because it's like, you know, it was very heartfelt, you know, and everything. Maybe when she got happy and she did Just Fine, I will never forget. She went on some morning show to do Just Fine, and there was like a anchor. It was like this heavy set white man, and this man was dancing up a storm. He was cutting up a rug, boy. He was dope. He was going for it. He was grooving and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I said, damn.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I wanted to say about The Wiz, though, is the funny thing is that, you know, like, this is still, like, the most popular musical version of The Wizard of Oz, to the point where if you Google The Wiz and go on YouTube, you will find hundreds of productions of The Wiz done by white kids in college and high school.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've seen them in their ass. But, yeah. No, like, no, I saw one, I was just like, this is a travesty. Like,
yeah.
I've seen a couple of okay ones, but I've seen a lot of terrible ones too. Yeah.
It's just like the
okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Korean.
The Wiz done in like by white middle school students in like Wisconsin. It's like, I mean, think about it, because the thing that makes it work is the soul and the funk.
Right.
So with people with no soul, no funk, who can't dance,
right.
with a town with like one black person and he's the janitor and he's shell shocked. So yeah, it's not gonna work out well.
I mean, the only thing I've seen that's worse is the all-white adaptations of Dreamgirls.
Oh wow.
Those are probably easier, though. I think Dreamgirls will probably translates better than Wiz would.
No.
Well, I mean, I know.
Have you seen them?
I've seen them. I've seen terrible black versions of Dreamgirls too. I mean, like, I've seen terrible, like, from everybody. You know that tour they just did a couple of years ago in 2009 or in 2010. They took that to South Korea because South Korea paid for it. So I've seen South Korean versions of Dreamgirls, which those are fine. I mean, like, they find a way to make that work. I just think with the Wiz is the fact that the script itself is so heavy in jive talk, not just black slang, but straight up 70s jive talk. Why you signifying on me? Let me lay something on you. All that kind of stuff is in the script, and they have to by license read those words as they are on the paper. So, But I did see one production that was like it wasn't in New Orleans, but it was somewhere like Oklahoma or whatever, and they had black people playing in it. It was weird though. They did, instead of a tornado, they did Hurricane Katrina instead.
Huh.
So they did the the whole tornado sequence, the music and everything, but they used the hurricane instead. They had Dorothy like running over waves and stuff, which. The tornado part is my favorite part of The Wiz to play. If they fuck it up that early, that's when I start tweeting. They had to be. What happened?
You don't want them to make it a snow blizzard in the middle of Harlem? That's not.
No. Quincy should at least have written something else different for that part, because the tornado part. Have you all heard the tornado music?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dante?
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember I had the soundtrack on vinyl. I played it on my Fisher Price record player.
That's awesome. But yeah, that tornado music, that shit is awesome. I need somebody to get that Dr. Dre synthesizer line of the. I need that to be on point and perfect. And one false move, and I'm starting to tweet, and that would be at like what 8:25. I'm not playing either.
You dead ass serious?
I'm dead serious.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That's on my my gym playlist when I'm lifting insane amounts of weight in the gym. It's like
You know how I know you're gay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even come back to that one. I can't come back to that at all.
You're listening to the Wiz stage score in the gym. That's pretty gay.
Hey, I am what I am. And that's all that I am. All right. I guess so. I guess that wraps up this episode. Thanks you guys for listening. We'll be back, the week after this. Kendrick was talking to me. I might consider doing a really quick post show right after they go off and posting that. Like it's like a short, 25-minute thing or whatever. It all depends upon how well they do or how bad they do. If we want to really just, be like, oh, they did it, or listen, they really screwed up this thing. So we'll see what happens. I'll let you guys know, but okay. I'm still floating that in the air. Good luck to everybody. Mary J. Practice. Everybody practice, but Mary J. Listen.
Call on the Lord, your Father in heaven.
Right.
We need y'all to get this right, please.
Ask him to work through you.
Yeah.
Make sure they got all the goddamn enough processors for all the computers for auto-tune.
Yeah. Listen, Mary knows. She just went through that whole crispy chicken thing. We're just now stopping the singing crispy chicken, fresh lettuce, 3 cheeses, French dressing. We're just now stopping that joke.
That's pretty fucking funny.
she can't have another one come up so we'll see what happens.
What's in the new chicken wraps?
What's in the chicken wraps, my pretty?
All right,
this
is the Say Something Nice podcast. I'm Brandon.
I'm Kareem.
I'm Dante.
We'll see you guys later. All right, bye.
All right, party people.
Peace. All right, and clear. Wait, don't hang up, Dante. Don't hang up.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop broadcast. Stopping broadcast.